Hello, greetings everyone. So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. So please let me introduce myself. My name is Salsabila Defri, and I will be your Master of Ceremony on our fourth webinar, Youth in Action, Sustainable Production for Carbon-Free World. And before we proceed the webinar today, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to our organization partner, Sejuta Cita, Youth Life, Youth Opportunities Hub, Simulegum, Enter Nusantara, Upakara Persada Nusantara Foundation, Scholarship Region, Hari Hutan, Green Friday Rwanda, Break Free from Plastic Awareness Initiative Nigeria, Scout International Eco Ambassador, Alticare, Anak Cinta Lingkungan, who already helped us to make this webinar happen. So, before we jump into the session, I want to ask to everyone in here, how do you feel after attending our first webinar today? So, is that exciting or anything else? Please kindly share your experience in the chat box. And while we are waiting for your response, I would like to read the rules before the webinar started. Okay, so before we start the webinar, I would like to read the rules. First, to attend our webinar, kindly set your Zoom names to your country _ name. For example, Indonesia _ Salsabila. And whenever possible, please turn on your camera and using the virtual background that we already provide. For Q&A session, please write your question in the chat box during the webinar, and also the moderator will read your question during the Q&A session. And please note that only those who attend the webinar until the end and those who fill out the feedback form will be given the A certificate. And before we started to the main session, and because not every people join the first day of webinar, I would like to welcome Abida Birawasiwi as Young Southeast Asia representative from Indonesia to open our webinar. For Abida, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dia. Greetings all participants, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to every one of you for being here with us today. We are very pleased to welcome you to Young Southeast Asia second webinar of virtual event commemorating World Habitat Day 2021. In this opening remark, I would like to express my sincere appreciation and gratitude to all of you who generously support us to make this event a success. The youth speakers and moderator, my dear friends Azka, Ibrahim, and Hendri, organization partners, and all Young Southeast Asia members. We could not have done it without you. The webinar title is Sustainable Production for Carbon-Free World. This title is in line with World Habitat Day 2021 main theme, which is Accelerating Urban Action for a Carbon-Free World. The first speaker would like to share with you about the initiation of sustainable and renewable electricity production for the people by Enter Nusantara. The second speaker would present best practices on how to reduce carbon footprint through energy access, waste management, and deforestation mitigation by Break Free from Plastic Awareness Initiative in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not take any much of your time. As a Young Southeast Asia representative, allow me to give a very warm welcome to all of you. Please enjoy the event. Kindly ask through the chat box during the presentation, and thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kak Abida, for the welcoming remarks. So, and because our webinar has officially started today, I would like to introduce our moderator, Hendri Surya Widcaksana. So, Hendri Surya Widcaksana is a computer science fresh graduate from Universitas Gadjah Mada with interest in managing consulting, finance, and environment and sustainability. He was an awardee of the Climate Reality Leadership Corps Latin America and an ambassador for the ASEAN Youth Organization. He also established AutiCare Indonesia, an autism-related social startup. He also facilitated a strategy and also research team at YOUNGO and was an executive member for LIPS at the ASEAN Business Youth Association. He also won several competitions and often represented his country in national and also in international forums, including People Choice Award winner of ASEAN Australia Youth Innovation Challenge, and so on. So with his multiple experience and his value of high achiever and strong willingness, he committed to encourage people to make a meaningful impact towards achieving sustainable development with his passionate work in the past, present, and also the future. So Hendri, the floor is yours.
Okay, and thank you very much for Ms. Dia for the recognition. And first of all, I will reintroduce myself. My name is Hendri Widcaksana, and I'm from Indonesia. And I'm also I'm a fresh graduate of the computer science at Universitas Gadjah Mada, which is Indonesia's top 10 universities, and also affiliated with the UNFCCC, ASEAN Business Youth Association, and also YOUNGO. Before introducing the speakers and the YOUNG, I would like to share everyone a quote from Antonio Guterres, which is a Secretary General of United Nations, which is stated, "Humanitarian response, sustainable development, and sustaining peace are the three sides of the same triangle." Yes, greetings, good mornings, good afternoon, and good evening to the honorable speakers, Young Southeast Asia Organizing Committee, and wonderful audience. First of all, I would like to welcome you all of the fourth webinar of Youth in Action organized by Young Southeast Asia. Happy World Habitat Day, and we do hope everyone here is in a healthy conditions. My name is Hendri Widcaksana, and tonight I will serve you as the moderator of the fourth webinar of Youth in Action with the topic of sustainable production for carbon-free world. And the next one, I will introduce about the YOUNG. YOUNG are a team of young, hopeful change makers from Southeast Asia, and they are on mission to create a better place for everyone to live in. The YOUNG project focuses on SDG 13, which is a point emphasizes about the climate actions. The members met during a Sustainable Development Conference earlier this year, and we have been in touch ever since. The Youth in Action series is a webinar designed to educate the youth on the many ways they can create a better world in this post-pandemic era with a focus on sustainable development goals, climate change, and climate action. And now, to start off today's webinar, we would like to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker will be the Azka Wafi Hakim, Engagement Officer of Enter Nusantara, and he is from Indonesia. Azka Wafi Hakim holds a bachelor degree in marine science at Pajajaran University. He started studying in August 2014, then graduated in January 2019. He is currently working with non-governmental organization Enter Nusantara, works as engagement officer. He has a high interest in literacy, science, and technology with environmental and humanitarian bases or goals. He also active in mountaineering organizations since the High School and Marine Science Association during lectures. When he was in college, he worked in BIG or Badan Informasi Geospatial, or in English, Geospatial Information Institution, taking bathymetric surveys in Wakatobi, Southeast Celebes or Sulawesi for 44 days. It was his first experience looking directly about direct electricity access, about different electricity access between the islands of Java and Celebes. In Wakatobi, electricity is obtained from a gasoline-powered generator, and it's only turned on for a few hours per day. Moreover, he saw many solar cells that were used as a dining table and a space to dry fish. This is because the CSR program only installs solar cells, but doesn't educate the people to care for and use it. After the experience, he became interested in the Renewable Energy campaign and joined Enter Nusantara in 2019. For Mr. Azka Wafi Hakim, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Hendri. Well, hello guys. May we always be in the good news. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Azka from Nusantara, located in Jakarta, Indonesia. I want to tell you a little more in detail about my experience in Wakatobi before I go to my presentation. Okay, so Wakatobi is divided into 4 main islands: Wangi-Wangi, Kaledupa, Tomia, and Binongko. In Wangi-Wangi Islands, the electricity is available for 24 hours. Oh, sorry. I go to Wakatobi in 2016. And the next island in Kaledupa, the electricity is only available from 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. So there's difference. And at the third island, is Tomia Island. The electricity is only available from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. On the last island of Binongko, the electricity is only available for 3 days, and the next 3 days, the electricity was off. Yeah, it's very surprising, right? Why the distribution of electricity is not equal? Why in Java every place are full of light, but in Celebes are not? These questions are haunting me that time. And then the case of the solar panels that are used as dining table and place for drying fish. Why doesn't the government provide solar panels for areas that are difficult to reach by submarine cables? Those questions that guided my journey with Nusantara. So that is the reason why I was interested with renewable energy. I want to know more about the distribution of electricity in this country and alternative energy that can be produced from every potential that exists in this equatorial country. We believe that this country are rich and have so many potential resources that environmentally friendly, of course, because we all know that the impact of coal power plants is very bad for environmental damage. Yeah. So that's my story. Can we go to the slides of my presentation? Thank you. So this is my organization, Enter Nusantara. Who we are? Enter Nusantara is a youth organization that focusing on climate crisis through creative advocacy campaign and implementation of clean, sustainable, and equitable renewable energy. So we believe that youth is not an object. We not just talk about youth, but we empower them. Next. Oh, thank you. What we do? So we do creative campaign in urban, and we do implementation on rural sites. So I want to tell you my experiences with Enter Nusantara from I joined it. At 2014, I'm sorry, it's 2014. We started with the Iban Dayak community. Yeah, we have continued to let the youth leading the solution. So Dayak Iban are living in Suyutik village. It's located on West Borneo. Dayak Iban are one of many indigenous peoples in Borneo. Then at that time, we do training the people how these solar cells works and how to maintain it, of course. And it's not easy because, yeah, that is Dayak Iban community has living without electricity for a long time. So we do some creative methods on a training to how to tell them about the electricity, what is electricity and how it works. And trust me, it's not easy. So in an example, I remember that in electricity, there is positive sides and negative sides. The positive are reds and the negatives are black. So we do some analogies that they can understand. So we do some analogies like the plus are female and the negative are male. And it works. Yeah, it works. And this program finally finished in 2017. It takes 3 years for training them how these tools are works and how to maintain these solar cells. And in 2019, we heard news about the electricity in Sui Utik village are available from state electricity enterprise, but they still use our solar panel. Yay! So, oh my God, I'm gonna miss our friends in Dayak Iban. So in that year, the Enter Nusantara was in its collaboration program with Greenpeace International organization and Aman organization. So in 2018, Enter Nusantara finally have our organization S10 S1. And in 2019, we do some solar power bank workshop with Patwa Islamic Boarding School in Cirebon, West Java. So it is our methods to approach the younger generation. I think it's junior high school. Yeah, I think it's junior high school. So we do some approaching methods, how to introduce solar cells with power bank. So we do a workshop with them and they can use it for charging their phones. In the same year, after we do some workshop in Cirebon, West Java, we do some empower santri to install solar panel on their mosque at Islamic boarding school Miskat Al Anwar, Bogor, West Java. So in this moment, we empower santri to tell them and teach them how the electricity in solar panels work, how to turn solar lights into electricity. So we teach them how to use these tools and how it comes. It comes for renewable, I think, clean energy. In August, I remember this program. In August 2019, we do a workshop with youth sustainable farmer community in Banjarnegara, Central Java. So we invite all farmer that we know in Central Java, and we do a workshop and we do a learn session with them. We learn together how it works and how it can be used in farmer section. It was like we can combine solar panel with a water pump. Yeah, this program is talking about that. Next, and it's have a connection with the next program. After that workshop, we came to their rice fields in Purbalingga, Central Java, and we do some workshop for them to how to use it and the installation and how to maintain it. So it is, yeah, the ideas was like combine the solar panel, turns sunlight into electricity, and then the electricity was used for the water pump for watering their fields in Purbalingga, and it cut the production cost of watering, because in watering the farmer used to be have a generator with a diesel as energy resources. So it got more production cost for them, and they are so happy about these programs. Oh yeah, these programs are running for 6 or 7 months, I forget. But in 6 and 7 months, we do learning section and training section and how to maintain it, so the farmer can use it and can fix it by himself. And then in 2021, we do some workshop and installation for a melon farmer in Kulon Progo. That is the farmer that in 2019 we do some workshop together, but in 2021 we do some installation for a melon farmer in Kulon Progo, Yogyakarta. Okay, so we have the final slides. I can tell you about theory or issues in renewable energy, but what can I do here is just sharing our experience in renewable energy installation and implementation. So best practice empower is a key. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much for Mr. Azka this insightful session. And that was an insightful information. And let me share everyone the conclusion of our first topic webinar for Mr. Azka after a question and answer session. And after that, there will be a question and answer after each speaker has done their presentation. So dear participants, you may want to prepare your questions and send it to the chat box once we open the Q&A session. And now we will opening the conclusion. And the conclusion for this session is the Wakatobi insists of the 4 islands, and he went to Wakatobi in 2016. And he interested with renewable energy after experienced limitation of energy access in Wakatobi, and also the inequality of the electricity access between the Java Island and also other parts of Indonesian islands. And Nusantara is an organization that focused on the climate crisis through creative advocacy campaign and implementation of clean, sustainable, and equitable renewable energy, as well as he also conducted a few of the meaningful projects, such as a solar power bank workshop in West Java, and also the Santri empowerment in some boarding schools in West Java, as well as the solar energy workshops in the few cities on Central Java, as well as the installation for the farmers in Kulon Progo and Yogyakarta. And few of his empowering statement is the empowerment is a key, and also youth is not an object, and Azka is empowering youth through his project. Okay. Anyway, for this session, and now we open the question and answer session. And to participants who would like to ask a question to the speaker, please send that question to the chat box, or you can raise your hands if you want to answer, if you have the question. Now, the question and answer is open. Okay, anyway, there is a first question. What's your biggest challenges in your implementation of solar cells installation in Dayak Iban Community Reserve when you are firstly implemented and also started the project of Nusantara?
Yeah, my biggest challenge in that year was telling them the information or the theory or the practice on electricity, because Dayak Iban have no electricity for a long years. So we know that if we have no electricity, then we have no knowledge right here, right moment. It's like that, right? So it's our biggest challenge, I think, how to transfer our ideas and our concept and our our knowledge to them. It takes 3 years for them to I know these tools are giving me electricity and how we maintain it, and it's the biggest problem, the knowledge transfer, I think.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer to the first question. And now we will jump to the second question. And what's your focus on the recent and upcoming project of Enter Nusantara?
Okay, our upcoming project was still in farmer section. We want to combine solar cells with shrimp farmer. In Banyuwangi, and we want to do some workshop and installation with farmer in East Java, because if the programs that I shared to you are in West Java and Central Java, but we don't reach the East Java, so the upcoming project is installing in East Java.
Okay, and thank you very much for Mr. Azka for this answer of the second question. And now we will jump to another question from Edwin Kiraki from Kenya. And he said that, what is the future of the project, and what are some of the opportunities that does it offer to you, to the young people?
Yeah, and our project, we always have a young people in our team, and we engage their younger community in that village or in that place, so they can learn with us together, and they can transfer that the knowledge into their community. So we engage the younger community, the younger people engage the older and their community. I think it's more easier when we talk with younger or in the same age, I think so.
Okay, and thank you very much for Asta, and it's so really insightful answer regarding to the youth empowerment plans. And the next one, there is a question from Wakai M. Sherry from Liberia, as well as the joint questions from Ekole Elvis from Cameroon, and from a question from Ekole, how can we extend the solar system to the central, as well as the question from Wakai, to what extent are you engaged with the young people in providing adequate training in the installation and maintenance of those solar panels? What are the short and long-term goals of your project?
Okay, so our long and short goals, I think the question is that. So our short term is we campaign the renewable energy can use in many places in Indonesia, and it's not just many places. It can combine with many tools. We can combine it with lamp. We can combine it with water pump. We can combine it with many things that we use it for a days. So we introduce them for the short goals. We introduce them how this solar panel works, and it can be useful for our lifestyle maybe, because the long goals is if we use a renewable energy, that clean energy, we reduce the environmental damage in other places that are mining on mining areas or mining sites. So I think it's important to young people to know how the energies resource came from. I mean.
Okay. Anyway, thank you very much for Azka for this answer to following questions. And I have some question from Mr. No, I have some question from Ms. Nika Andomanu from Indonesia, and she asked that would like to share your target of your project be in the future, and are you focusing only in remote areas?
We are not focusing on remote areas. We do some campaigns to in city, for school, for mosque, and for church. So it's not in remote area only. We do campaigning in city, in Jakarta, in Bandung, in Malang, and in remote areas.
Okay, anyway, thank you very much for answering the question from Nika Andomano from Indonesia. And the next question is Mr. Ekole Elvis Molibeta from Cameroon. And what are the prospects of this project extending it to other countries? Or it means that if you are expanding the projects to other countries, especially in the neighboring countries like the Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei Darussalam.
I don't know. I think in other countries have many more implementation of renewable energy than in Indonesia. I always think like that. So I don't know. Yeah, I think Indonesia is more. Yeah, I think another country is more do implementation in renewable energy than Indonesia.
Okay, anyway, thank you very much for Azka. And the next question is, there are related questions, the solar related questions from Musadik Mubarak from India, from Kashmir, and also from Miss Nika Andaumanu from Indonesia. And from Musadik Mubarak, how do we promote a solar farm? As well as the follow-up question from Miss Nika Andaumanu from Indonesia, does it cost to install a solar panel? And thank you.
Yeah, how we promote a solar farm? I think it came from we came from that solar cells that combined with water pump. It can cut the production cost. I think it's the best try to farmer to understand that. I think it's it works on accounting like that. And does it cost? In Indonesia, it costs very cost, because in Indonesia that solar cells are included in tax that it tax higher than another country. It's equals on it on same list with motorcycle Harley Davidson. Yeah, the tax is on that, on the solar cell tax in Indonesia are on the same page that tax with motorcycles like Harley Davidson, like Mercy, and another fancy cycle or motorcycle. So it cost in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Azka, from the following answer. And the next one, there are some comments from Hafiz Muhammad Umair from Pakistan. And he comments that the major cause of the climate change is extensive use of heavy weapons used by so-called advanced and progressed countries, causing a lot of smoke and dust in the air. And following the following question is from Simel Ferreira from the Philippines. As we see now, the rural areas are in progressing for access to the electricity. So, do you think its solar system will be useful in the coming years, in the future, and especially in the future?
I think it's not just solar cells only. I think another region or another sites have another potential. It's like a water, wine. So why we not combine all of that renewable energy? Like if we have potential to, we live in an equatorial country, right? That the sun is shining more in our country, and we have a wind and we have water. So we can combine that three energies into electricity, and I think it's the solution. Not just solar cells, but another renewable energy resources.
Okay, and thank you very much for Mr. Azka for the answer. And the following next, this is a question from Ibrahim Ansari from Pakistan. What are the disadvantages of solar system, and will it affect the solar energy to the environment?
Well, what the effect? I think we comparing the solar cells with coal power plant. I think when we use electricity from coal power plant, okay, it's more easier, but that we environmentally damage on that mining sites on coal. You know, we cut off the trees and we start more digging, and then it environmentally damage that areas, our mining areas. But when we use solar cells, I think it comes from sunlight, so it's not have a big damage like coal power plant. So I think it's a good resources.
Okay, and thank you very much for Azka Wafi for this answer and the question from the Ironias Ansari from Pakistan. And now we are having the question from Andrea Araujo from Brazil. And are they any cheap solar system alternatives for poor people?
Yeah, are there cheap for solar for poor people? I think it have to the government and the entrepreneur must be must have worked together with people too, because if we talk about the cost, it's only the government and the entrepreneur who can reduce the cost. So I think it's we need some help from them, but we have to push them to reduce the cost. So it must be provided by our government, right?
Okay, and thank you for the answer from the Azka for this question, and for this answer for this question, and this question and answer session is come to the end. And now let me, and that was self-information, and let me share everyone the conclusion of our first topic webinar from Mr. Azka. And the first one, Azka started to going to Wakatobi in 2016, and the Wakatobi consists of the 4 major islands, and but the electricity access is in Wakatobi is only in 3 days, and it has the limitations, and it marks an inequality of the electricity access, as well as any parts of the stakeholders are supposed to provide solar panels for the other regions of Indonesia, especially for the other islands and regions in Indonesia. And she interested with renewable energy after experience a limitation of energy access in Wakatobi. And Nusantara is an organization focused on the climate crisis and through the creative advocacy campaign and implementation of the clean, sustainable, and equitable renewable energy. And Nusantara focuses on creative campaign on urban and rural areas. And Nusantara's project started in Iban indigenous communities in 2014 and letting youth leading the solution, as well as he conducted several projects in the last 3 years, especially in the Santri empowerment and installment of the solar panel. Installation of the solar panel at Mishkat Al Anwar Boarding School in Bogor, West Java, and also the Youth Sustainable Farming Community in Bajanegara, Central Java, as well as the solar water pumps workshop in Purbalingga, and also for the farmers in Kulon Progo and in Yogyakarta. And he also stated the remarks and the insightful remarks that youth are not, and youth isn't an object. And we didn't just talk about them, and we empower them, as well as the empowerment is a key. And now, thank you very much for for person who answered to giving the question in the first session. And the next one, now the question and answer has elapsed from our first speaker, and we are moving on the polling in which the host will be conducting it. From there, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Hendri, and also thank you so much for Azka for already giving the amazing presentation. So right now we will have the polling session. So back with me again. So for the committee, can you pop up the screen for the polling session? Okay, so there are some questions for you to answer. Please kindly fill out our polling session in 2 minutes, so you can answer right now. We will wait until everyone already polling. Thank you. And maybe also if you have any difficulties to fill out the polling session, please just chat in the chat box. So our committee will guide you to fill out the polling session. Okay, guys, we need more answers. So please, for those who not do the polling yet, please kindly fill out the polling session. Okay, we will end the poll right now and share the result to you. Okay. So most of you are from Asia, and they are for Africa and also from Europe. And for the age range of our participants, it's kindly various. There are people who are under 18 years old, wow, and until 30 years old, wow, that's really amazing. And then what do you do for the living? So some people are students right now, and some of them are researchers, workers, and also others. And do you know the Sustainable Development Goals? Okay, 83% of you said yes. That's really great answer actually. And do you know about SDGs number 30, focus on the climate change, climate action? Some of you, 77% of you said yes. And this is when is the World Habitat Day this year? So most of you are right. So the World Habitat Day is held today, October 4th, 2021. And what is the theme for the World Habitat Day this year? So for some of you answer it right, but most of them still do not know about the theme of the World Habitat Day today. So the World Habitat Day today is, for the theme is accelerating urban action for the carbon-free world. And the last question is, where did you know about this webinar? Some of you know from the social media, friends, and also others. So thank you so much for already participating to our polling session. So we will come back to the panel session number 2. I will give it back to Hendri as our moderator today. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, and thank you very much for Ms. Dea Salsabila for this conducting the polling session, and everyone is really participated on this polling session, and there are various answers to this question on this polling session. And now we would like to introduce our second speaker. And thank you very much for there to conducting the polling. And now we are entering the second topic of today's sessions by our second speaker, Mr. Ibrahim Shamsuddin from Nigeria. Ibrahim Shamsuddin is an executive director of Break Free from Plastic Awareness Initiative. And Ibrahim Shamsuddin is passionate for environmental sustainability, social change, transparency, and accountability in governance. He is the current CEO of Break Free from Plastic Initiative, a youth-led organization established to create awareness on the impacts of improper waste management and breaking biodiversity free from the shackles of plastic pollution and its toxic impacts on humans, animals, and the environment. He also works as a community champion for a connected development or Follow the Money, an initiative that empowers marginalized communities and holds government accountable where he plays a vital role in line with 3 core thematic areas in regards to education, health, water sanitation, and hygiene. Ibrahim has volunteered for other civil society organizations in Nigeria and the world whose motive is to drive positive environmental sustainability and social changes globally. He is an associate fellow of the African Teachers Fellowship and also the fellow of the 2021 cohort of the PACE Population Reference Bureau Youth Media Fellowship, and has published research works in international journals and attended several conferences having 16 citations. He is also a member of the Polymer Institute of Nigeria, or PIN, as well as the member of the Climate and Sustainable Development Network of Nigeria. As a nature and landscape photographer, he uses his photography skills to document activities and tell compelling stories to make an impact about nature, biodiversity, and environment towards achieving sustainable development, leaving no one behind. And for the Mr. Ibrahim Shamsuddin, the floor is yours.
Good day, everyone. I think he just did justice to the introduction. I remain Ibrahim Shamsuddin from Nigeria. And our topic of discussion today is energy access, waste management, and deforestation, balancing the status quo towards mitigating deforestation. We are going to take a look at the role of biomass energy in provision and limiting deforestation rates in the global south, which is Africa and Asia. Can we move to the next slide? Hi, this is a brief about me. I'm Ibrahim Shamsuddin from Nigeria, the Executive Director of Break Free from Plastic Awareness Initiative Nigeria. And the objective of our session today is to discuss an overview. The next slide. Today, the objective of this session is to discuss an overview and the nexus between energy access and deforestation in the global south. This includes energy access for heating and cooking purposes, how that promotes deforestation, and how waste can help solve this overarching problem. Next slide. Good. The basic concept, energy access. Now, the International Energy Agency defines energy access as a household having reliable and affordable access to both clean cooking facilities and to electricity, which is enough to supply a basic bundle of energy services initially, and then an increasing level of electricity over time to reach the regional average. In essence, a community or energy access identifies the basic need of energy for people, most especially people in marginalized communities. And then the second basic concept we take a look at is deforestation. I think the image on the screen clearly explains or defines deforestation, which is a cutting down of trees, which serves as a barriers, agents fighting deforestation and desertification. But unfortunately, they are being indiscriminately cut down and they are used for heating and construction purposes. And then waste management is the generation, prevention, characterization, monitoring and treatment, handling, reuse, and residual disposition of solid waste. That is prevention of generation, conversion or reuse or repurposing such waste. That is waste management. Next slide, please. According to the World Health Organization, about 2.8 billion people globally have poor access or live without access to clean cooking energy as of 2018. And in 2020, that increases to about 3 billion people. And majority of them are from sub-Saharan Africa, or in a nutshell, the global south. And in 2012, the rate is even, the rate in access to clean cooking decelerates in 2012. Because over the period of 2010 to 2018 period, progress has remained largely stagnant, which implies there is no progress at all. And in 2012, instead of progress, it was found decelerating in some countries, falling behind. And this is exacerbated by population growth, which leads to millions of deaths each year from breathing cooking smoke and as a result of indoor greenhouse gases. And these deaths, majority of them are within people or children within the age of 1 to 5, which is bad for our growing population. Next slide. Waste to energy. Now, having found out that majority of people lack access to cooking, clean cooking, and most of them uses firewood, which promotes deforestation, especially in the global south, then there is need to convert waste to energy, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, whereby agriculture is one of the major tools for development or promotion of the GDP. So which means now it is quite estimated that when one goes into agriculture, about 40% of the output serve as waste, out of which only 10% is used livestock feeding, and about 30% is out there as waste. And that can be valorized and converted to efficient energy. So converting of waste to energy is a great alternative towards ensuring production of energy and protecting the environment and mitigating deforestation. Next slide. Now let's take a look at the impact of deforestation. I read recently a research that for each tree standing, there are about 400 living organisms living on each tree, which implies that if you cut 10 trees, you are killing about 2,000 living organisms. And it is quite surprising that some of those organisms might be endemic to that particular tree, which means if you cut that tree, that particular species of living organisms are extinct. So this clearly explains that the more we cut trees, the more we push biodiversity to the brink of extinction, and the more we dilapidate, degrade, and destroy their habitat. Thank God, today we are doing this webinar in commemoration of World Habitat Day, which implies or clearly explains why it is very, very important for us to stop deforestation, for us to stop indiscriminate felling of trees, which serve as agents that help or mitigate deforestation. Now, taking a look at tropical forests, which are home to great numbers of animal and plant species, as I mentioned, when forests are lost or burned, it drives many of those species into extinction. Just as I had an example with a particular tree, housing or providing shelter to about 400 living organisms. And it is clearly noted and evidence that at the moment, we are heading to the 6th mass extinction episode, which means we have to do our best to save our habitat and the environment for future generations. As you can see, this is an inefficient method of cooking, which is largely practiced in sub-Saharan Africa. And you can see there are trees that are being cut and the wood is used as a fuel. And the use of fuel, this method of cooking has started since time immemorial. And that is why we've been experiencing desertification in parts of sub-Saharan Africa and some parts of Asia, which is bad for our sustainable development, because it is quite evident that we are largely dependent on natural resources, usually agriculture, forests, and therefore deforestation is a threat to our peaceful coexistence. It drives conflict, promotes food insecurity, hunger, migration, among other things, because we are actually vulnerable to the impact of climate change, and we contribute less to the problem. So therefore, it is quite important that we find all the possible best alternatives to help this particular problem. Next slide. Taking a look at waste to energy, it has a lot of benefits. The society will benefit health-wise. Their health will be improved, like women that are dying annually as a result of indoor greenhouse gas emissions, asthmatic attacks, children suffering from pulmonary diseases due to indoor greenhouse gases will be safe and healthy. The community benefits. It helps the environment by limiting the rate of greenhouse gas emissions. Profitability, it promotes availability of wealth, because when the environment is safe, we tend to spend less on issues around health and so on. And then recovery, it helps us in recovering the waste we have. That is, we are valorizing our waste now. Instead of discarding those waste, leaving them to promote forest fires and others, we can repurpose them and produce energy, like, for example, briquettes, which is used as a cooking fuel as an alternative to charcoal or coal or firewood. And I'm sure it's the better alternative and environmentally friendly. Next slide. Great. It is quite cited that heavy smoke emission affects the lungs and eyes, especially of women. And according to World Health Organization, that there are also evidence between household air pollution and low birth weight, tuberculosis, cataract, nasopharyngeal and laryngeal cancers, which are detrimental to humans. And it is quite identified that about 3.8 million people a year die prematurely from illness attributable to the household air pollution caused by inefficiencies of solid fuels, usually firewood and kerosene for cooking. Now, if 3.8 million people die as a result of that, I think it's alarming that we find a better alternative that's environmentally friendly and mitigates the mortality rate prematurely from open fires and inefficient use of solid fuel. The next slide. Yes, among these 3.8 million deaths mentioned earlier, 27% are due to pneumonia, 18% from smoke, 27% from ischemic heart disease, and 20% from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and 8% from lung cancer. And if you take a look at this, major pneumonia is the highest, followed by ischemic heart disease, and pneumonia is usually found in small children, usually below the age of 5, which is actually not good. Next slide, please. Next slide. Good. Now, waste to energy is aimed at improving the health and time savings for households in the preservation of forests and associated ecosystem services that will promote the economic status of the community and in reducing emissions that contribute to global climate change. Because I think yesterday I was on a trip. I came across young children. Yes, young children coming back from the forest. They went to fetch firewood. I would think that those children should be there doing their assignments and preparing for classes in school today. But as a result of inefficient or low access to renewable energy, these children are just like child labor. Most of them are there in the forest. They are vulnerable to rodents, organisms like snakes and other organisms. But yes, we have to go there to source for that. But when we develop or adapt to the use of efficient energy access, these children will be better, safe at home, healthy, and preparing for classes in school on Monday. The next slide, please. Yes, now about Breakthrough from Plastic Awareness Initiative. Who we are? Breakthrough from Plastic Awareness Initiative is a youth-led non-governmental organization established to create awareness on the impact of improper waste management and breaking biodiversity free from the shackles of plastic pollution and its toxic impact on humans, animals, and the environment. Next slide. We have headquarters in Kaduna State, Nigeria. It was established in the year 2008, and at the moment, we have more than 500 members across Nigeria. The initiative targets the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 6, which is a provision of water, sanitation, and SDG 7, renewable and affordable energy, climate action, life below water, life on land, justice, peace, and strong institutions, and SDG 17, which is partnership for the goals. Next slide, please. Now, from 2018, we have successfully trained about more than 300 women and girls from grassroots and marginalized communities on how to produce biomass briquettes from waste, usually agricultural waste and biomass. And we've done this across 6 states in Nigeria. That's Kano, Jigawa, Katsina, Edo State, and Kaduna State. And 85 of the beneficiaries are women and girls within the age of 18 to 35. Also, in order to strip our communities free from waste, we are able to have about 28 cleanup activities. I think on Saturday, we hosted, in partnership with Africa Cleanup Initiative, we hosted the Green Independence Cleanup. Nigeria's independence is on every 1st of October, and every year we do have a cleanup to commemorate Nigeria's independence. And we have been doing that from 2019 till date. So we have 28 cleanup activities, and we are able to plant 4,500 trees across 3 states. And at the moment, we have 25% survival rate. And we have thousands sensitized and engaged for climate action, both on ground and physically, and on our media platforms across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Next slide. Great. Our mission. Breakthrough from Plastic Initiative is an organization in working towards educating, empowering, and uniting people to advocate for effective climate change solutions. We envision a sustainably prosperous environment where young people will lead the society towards climate action, where everyone will be educated, empowered, engaged, and united to address climate change. Because we cannot do it alone, the government cannot do it alone. It should be our civic responsibility. Each and every one of us is expected to be educated, empowered, and engaged for climate action. Next slide, please. Great. Now, how do you contact us? On Twitter, we are www.twitter.com/BFE Initiative. On Facebook, we are web.facebook.com/BFE Initiative. On Instagram, www.instagram.com/BFE Initiative. And sorry, this is supposed to be our email, not Instagram. You can contact us at pscinitiative@gmail.com. Next slide. Great. I think this comes to the end of my presentation. So if there are any questions, they are actually welcome. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much for Mr. Ibrahim Shamsuddin for this insightful sessions and remarks. And it's another insightful information from our second speaker. And thank you so much for sharing with us, Ibrahim from Nigeria. Hereby, I summarize the presentation from our last session with a second speaker, Ibrahim Shamsuddin from Nigeria. And the first of all is the energy access defined as a household having reliable and affordable access to clean cooking facilities and electricity, which is enough to supply a basic bundle of energy services initially, and then increasing level of electricity. Waste management is the generation, prevention, characterization, monitoring, treatment, handling, reuse, and residual disposition of solid waste. According to the WHO, almost 3 million people remain without access to the clean fuels and cooking technologies, mainly residing in Asia and sub-Saharan African countries. 2.8 billion people. And over the 2010 to 2018 period, this is a stagnant progress with increased access rate to clean cooking ever accelerating in 2012 in some countries. Deforestation also threatens the world biodiversity as it drives many of those species into extinction. And some scientists are already in the midst of mass extinction. And the use of wood fuel is as a principal source of energy for many households worldwide, the global south, and particularly in rural communities. And it promulgates deforestation, which exploits people's vulnerability to the impacts of climate change. And heavy smokes affect lungs and eyesight. According to the WHO, it links into low birth rate, tuberculosis, cataract, nasopharyngeal and laryngeal cancers, and 3.8 million people die prematurely each year. And from this session, Ibrahim also delivered the mechanism of the waste to energy. And waste to energy is a tool aimed at improving health and time savings for households in preservation of forest and associated ecosystem services that will promote the economic status of the community and reducing emissions that contribute to global climate change. As well as he also delivered the information about the break free from plastic, and he has having headquarters in Kaduna State, Nigeria, and established with more than 500 members across Nigeria, and also the targets, the SDG number 6, 7, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And in this breakthrough from plastic initiative, he trained 300 from grassroots and marginalized communities, 6 states in Nigeria, and the 85% of beneficiaries are women and girls within the age of 18 to 35, as well as he conducted 28 cleanup activities, as well as the 450 trees planted with a 25% survival rate, and also the thousands of the people sensitized and engaged for a action. Okay, and now we open the question for we open the question and answer session to participants who would like to ask the question to the speaker. Please to send the question to the chat box, or you can raise your hand. And first of all, we have a question from Abir from Pakistan. How can we implement waste to energy, or WTE?
Well, that actually requires lots of resources, like this biomass can be converted to electricity, but over here, our focus is we realize because we work solely with people at the grassroots communities, most especially women and young children. And we realize one of the major issues they battle with are issues around cooking energy. Indoor greenhouse gases have been battling with asthmatic attacks, among others. So what we work on is converting agricultural biomass to briquettes, which is an efficient and environmentally friendly alternative to charcoal. And apart from that, I've seen in various countries, like I think in Malaysia, they convert waste polyethylene bags to electricity. So there are a lot of things we can convert waste to. Some we can repurpose them and convert them to something useful. I think one of the major essential use of waste is converting them to energy. Since especially in sub-Saharan Africa and the global south, we usually use wood. We love wood for heating and cooking purposes, also for construction. And I think if we can leverage on that waste, converting them to energy, our environment will be safe from deforestation, and that is achieved. And the process of converting agricultural biomass to briquettes, I think we are able, as Breakthrough from Plastic Awareness Initiative, develop a manual for someone to do it at the local level, even if one does not have access to the reliable resources to go into mass production, one can be able to produce briquettes for household use. I think I will share the manual hopefully with Abida so that he can be able to share with interested participants. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, thank you very much for Ibrahim for this answer to the question from Abir from Pakistan. The second one, I have a sub question. What's your greatest spot according to your experiences in Free from Plastic?
Yeah, actually, over the years, I come across a lot of women, and I had their stories. One of the stories that broke my heart was during a training in Plateau State. I was interviewing some of the participants, the beneficiaries of the training, and she told me that she took her mom to the hospital, and the doctor asked, for how long is your mom smoking? And she responded, my mom never smoked, which implies how deadly the use of firewood and inefficient cooking methods is detrimental to health of women, especially in rural communities, and which implies there is urgent need and call to action to provide or to improve access to efficient heating energy for people in grassroots communities. So actually, one of the most amazing things I actually have or things, because I try to empathize with people in the grassroots communities. I go to them, work with them, hear their stories, and we brainstorm together to find alternative solutions. And thanks to my team, they have been doing amazing work in order to ensure that we reach to the grassroots community. Thank you.
Okay, and anyway, thank you very much for the question, for the answer. And now we're going to jump to another question from Abir from Pakistan. What are the alternatives of firewood?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, one of them is biomass briquettes, and secondly, there are biofuels from agricultural waste. Also, biogas can be generated from agricultural waste. So I think these three are alternatives to firewood, and they are more environmentally friendly because we always have food waste, we always have agricultural waste, but no matter what we know, the output of agricultural practice cannot be 100% beneficial. Definitely we only get home with about 60%. And as I said earlier, from that 40% remaining, about 10% is used for livestock feeding and the 30% is waste. So you see, we have lots of ways to leverage on in providing efficient energy. So I think these three are better alternatives to firewood, and they serve similar and better purpose. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, thank you very much for the answer to this question. And now we're going to jump into another question. The question is from Nika Ndamanu from Indonesia. To Ibrahim, would you like to elaborate waste to energy or WTE that you mentioned, intangible examples or experiences that have done?
Okay, fine. As I kept mentioning, my focus on heating and cooking energy, and the best alternative we've been working on is biomass briquettes. I was even wondering why I didn't insert any of these images on my presentation. Actually, one of the key waste energy we work on usually is converting biomass agricultural waste to biomass briquettes, and which can be used for cooking and heating purposes in bakeries, household use, and restaurants and others. And most of them produce food in mass, which means they use lots of firewood. And using alternative energy like the briquettes, especially when they have access to energy efficient cook stoves, it cooks faster. Apart from cooking faster, it saves energy and you consume less of the briquettes compared to firewood. For example, if you usually use 1,000 naira charcoal, when you have to use briquettes with the energy efficient cook stove, you might use that of 300 or let's say 500 to serve the same purpose. So it means you save your resources, you protect yourself from health impacts, protect the environment, and make your fast easier and faster. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much for the answer from the question from Ms. Nika Ndaumanu from Indonesia. And now we're going to move to another question. And the question is from Mr. Ekole Elvis Molibeta from Cameroon. And hello, Ibrahim. It's a wonderful presentation there. Now most of the rural communities use wood for fuel, and it's customary for them. And what is your approach in changing mentality to accept the alternative fuel?
This is a wonderful question. Actually, first of all, you have to build a cordial relationship with such communities, get to understand their problems. Like what I would like to recommend is you can use card games. For example, you can have a card and insert the picture of the inefficient cooking method with firewood, then use the energy efficient cook stove, use maybe gas cookers, electric cookers, various images of other alternatives, then share with those people, just like you are playing a game. Okay, these are the cards. You ask them, let them select the best three according to their own priority. And definitely, I know they will select the best three they think is best to them. And then you kept probing, asking them questions. Why do you select this? What role will that play? Why do you select this? Okay, if it is to do this for you, what about this? Can this have the same purpose? And you get to clearly explain to them the health benefits of using efficient cooking strategy and methodologies. Because especially just like you mentioned, grassroots communities, women, not just children, women go to the forest to fetch firewood, promoting deforestation and exposing themselves to gender-based violence, issues of rape, and even murder in some cases. Conflict, ethnic violence, and things like that. And I think when you resonate with them, they give you their ideas. You make them lead the conversation. They know the experiences they have, and with that, I think there will be paradigm shifts in their perception and understanding of the problem and how best they can contribute towards addressing that problem. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much for Mr. Ibrahim for the answer to this question. And now we're going to jump to another question, and the question is from Yazid S. Mikhail from Nigeria. And well done, Mr. Ibrahim. This is indeed a wonderful and insightful session. And my question is, does exposure to indoor emissions from cooking with inefficient means of cooking, such as firewood and or other biofuels, make women vulnerable to asthma during birth?
Well, it's quite evident. I think during the presentation, I clearly mentioned that indoor greenhouse gases ensures constant asthmatic attacks, especially for women. And definitely that will affect their offspring. And at that, it might lead to unforeseen circumstances, even death. So this implies that indoor greenhouse gases are detrimental to the health of women, especially those that are asthmatic. And not just to them, even their offspring. And at that, it might lead to death, which is bad. I think we made mention of premature deaths, about 3.8 million. And definitely asthmatic attacks are some of the causes of the death. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much for Mr. Ibrahim for answering the questions from Yazid S. Mikhail. And now we're going to jump to another question, and the question is from Edwin Kiraki from Kenya. And what are the challenges of picking this energy alternative?
Actually, one of the challenges is access to resources in implementing such alternatives, because the best way to achieve the goal of mitigating or limiting deforestation is when we educate, empower, and engage those people from these marginalized communities to produce these energy alternatives themselves, because we cannot be there in their community for long. We go there, educate, empower, and engage them. And they use this local initiative, which will contribute to a global action towards mitigating climate change. So one of the challenges is lack of resources. As a youth-led non-profit making organization, we mobilize resources to ensure that we educate, empower, and engage these people. And you know, when we lack available resources to do that at a large scale, it's going to be very challenging. We just leverage on our skills to innovatively use them, and using a technique called innovative volunteerism. We use our local skills at local level to empower these people so that they can be doing this global, this local initiative to mitigate or reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and that will contribute to the global perspective or global effort towards mitigating climate change. Thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you very much for the insightful answer. And now we're going to the last question. And I have the question that what is the what like to share your targets of your project be in the future? And are you focusing only in the remote areas, or focusing in only the Nigeria, or you can focus, you can expand it into the neighboring countries in Africa and even in other regions outside Africa?
Yes, actually, we are looking between now and the next 10 years, we can be able to eliminate the use of firewood for cooking and heating purposes in the whole of Africa. and if possible, the global south. And definitely that implies we need support from international organizations, local organizations, civil societies, the media, and even people from the grassroots community, because we cannot do it alone. Climate action is actually a civic responsibility, because the environment is the only thing globally we share in common. We have different languages, different ethnic groups, different religions, different skin colors. But one thing we share in common is the environment. A neem tree in Indonesia is the same neem tree in Nigeria. A mango tree in Afghanistan, Pakistan is the same mango tree in Cameroon and Nigeria. So it implies that environment is the only thing we share in common, and we should work collectively in mitigating climate change. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much for Mr. Ibrahim Shamsuddin for your dedication and your time to answer the following questions. And now the question and answer session has now elapsed, and we are entering our last session for today's webinar, which is a documentation and closing by our host, Dea. And for Dea, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Hendri, and also Ibrahim, for already giving the insight, the wonderful presentation, and also already connecting the the session today. So finally, we come to the end of this session, and before we are saying goodbye, please open your camera because we will have the documentation. Okay, we will wait until everyone open the camera. Okay, is everyone ready? Okay, maybe I will try to screenshot in right now. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Once again, there are 5 slides, so better to smile until the end. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Again, 1, 2, 3, cheese. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. So also don't forget to fill out our feedback form to get an e-certificate, and also follow our Instagram account at Young Southeast Asia. So, well, thank you so much, everyone, for already coming and for your attention. Please also stay tuned on our social media, because we will having a new upcoming event that you won't regret it. So happy World Habitat Day. Thank you, and see you in the next event. Bye-bye.